Hello, everybody out there in the world. My name is James Murua, and I'd like to welcome you to the first edition of the James Murua Literary Podcast. The idea is that for 1 hour, we'll be engaging with one person in the African literary community, whether it's a writer or somebody in the back office as well. And I'm really excited today that my first guest is Abubakar Adam Ibrahim. He's based in Nigeria. Let me just get him into the room. He's in there somewhere. So, hi Abubakar.
Hello, James. How are you doing?
I'm very good. So, for those of you who do not know who Abubakar Adam Ibrahim is, I'm not really sure what you're doing on this podcast if you don't know who that is. But he's a Nigerian writer. He's got 2 books already out. One is a short story collection called The Whispering Trees, and another one is his debut novel, Season of Grapes or Blossoms. And his new novel, Dreams and Assorted Nightmares, is forthcoming. Welcome, Abubakar.
Thank you, James. Except I don't have a new novel out. I have a new collection of short stories.
New short story collection.
Yeah.
Yes, this is going exactly how I thought it would. I'm sure a lot of people are very interested to know what's happening in the US, with the elections.
Yeah.
And it's gonna refresh my figures here. I see it's Electoral College, Joe Biden 238, Donald Trump 2013. I'm sure that will not change in the next 1 hour. We'll be having our discussions, but we can check later.
Probably not.
So, first of all, we're going to start with. We're going to do what's happening in the wider world. Maybe we can start talk about what's happening in Nigeria right now. A few weeks ago, we had a lot of NSARs and writers, raised their voices, and there was a lot of happenings. And you mind just telling us what's happening now? Is it over?
The funny thing with Nigeria is that there's always something happening. Someone is being shot at either by the military or the police or by bandits or Boko Haram. The military is always denying, the government is always denying Boko Haram. The bandits are always, doing their stuff, and they don't give a damn about anybody's denial. So that's the situation. After the NSAS protest was, violently brought to an end with the Lekki incident and, and the introduction of thugs into the equation, people are trying to take stock. Of course, there was in the aftermath of the Lekki incident, there was looting by people virtually across the states of the country, and now that has sort of calmed down. But there are other incidences. There's an incident in Oyigbo in Rivers State, which is to the south, where some people kind of masquerading as NSAS protesters or took advantage of that protest and attacked soldiers and policemen and killed them. And anyone who knows the Nigerian army has a reputation of retaliating when such incidences happen. And they have been retaliating, so they've been shooting people in Oyigbo. Even though they deny that they are killing anyone, they say they're being professional about it. They are trying to recover the weapons that those people took from the soldiers that they killed in the first instance. But so there's still a lot to unpack. There's still a lot going on, and I just think it's a shame that a movement like that could have possibly united the country has been subjected to such old divide and rule techniques that have been working ever since. And I think it's really sad. It's tragic. But I hope that after taking stock, we're going to find another way of moving forward to make sure that Nigeria grows as a country, that the people get the right treatment that they deserve, that they are not treated like animals by the people who should be protecting them. Yeah, that's the hope, and that's where we are right now.
This is really terrible. I
Yeah.
have to say that I've noticed that the writing community in Nigeria and across the continent in the last year has been coming together with when this kind of thing happens. I mean, they put out a poster with NSARS when the NSARS protest came out, condemning whatever is happening. Is it something that's new, or is it something that writers have always been doing?
I think writers have always been involved in the politics of the day, be it during the colonial era or after the colonial era, during the military regimes, and all of that. Writers have always been involved, and I think now it's not different. I think probably now it's more Pan-African, in the sense that you have writers from all over the continent, coming together to speak with one voice against something that is happening in one particular country. And I think it's right and fair that writers should do that. After all, they are, in a way, they are watchkeepers. They are watchdogs, if you like, who observe things and know things. And they have this peculiar insight into situations, into politics, into brutalities, and all of that. And they are subjected to quite a few of them, because they have a voice. And I don't see the point of having a voice if you can't use it. And that is what writers on the continent are doing right now. And I hope it's making an impact. I hope that people are listening and taking stock that writers are speaking, and those who should know, and be afraid.
So I was asking you about whether it's been happening, but I have noticed that the last 5 or 6 years, the Pan-African writing community has been coalescing together in ways that may not have happened in a generation. I think we last did an interview like this when you were at a festival in Uganda, right?
Yep.
And I have to say that was really exciting to see so many writers from all over the continent coming together. And at that time, it wasn't a political discussion, because it was just writers talking about writing and getting to know who's doing what. Do you want to talk a bit about this?
Yeah, I think it was something that I don't want to say. I think it's a coalition of a lot of factors. Things happened. Africans noticed that we are not accessing each other's literatures. Nigerians can't access literature from Ghana, even though they're very close by. Literature from South Africa, for instance, contemporary literature from South Africa is scarce to come by. I think writers noticed this, and they realized that if we want literature from the country just across the border, we need the mediation of London or Paris or some other European capital, and that was simply unacceptable. It shouldn't be that way. And I think sometime in 2014, when we had this the Garden City Literary Festival, where we had this Africa 39 project, and a lot of wonderful writers who were under 39, even though I'm not entirely sure all of them were under 39. Yeah. But yeah, we all came together in Port Harcourt.
The football ages.
Yeah, I'm beginning to suspect there's a lot of football age in there, but the important thing that is that all of the writers there were fantastic writers. They were great writers, and they were visionaries, and they were. I don't know if patriot is the word to use, because they have this Pan-African zeal, and they wanted Africa to connect. And when we met in Port Harcourt that year, 2014, we started this conversation about why do we need the mediation of London and Paris and Lisbon and Brazil or wherever to interact with each other. Why don't we just do that ourselves? And I remember having this conversation with Zukisu Awana, who said, you can put books on planes and get them across to someone in a different country, and they'll handle the sales and distribution of that. And it was a small idea, but it started, and we found different ways of connecting, and we keep doing that, and that's great for me. I think, and that's great for the entire continent, for the writing community as well. And even though it's not ideal, it's still a work in progress, but we're getting there. We have more publishers springing up across different countries who are interested in acquiring literatures from other countries as well and publishing them in their own spaces and their territories. And I think that's a brilliant idea. And that's how you do it. That's how you saturate the space with different literature that people can access whenever they need to access it. Yeah.
I noticed that this year it went on overdrive, with Afrolit Sampontier, the Literary Festival, and other little initiatives that you all were involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to talk about the whole of African writing, but maybe we want to talk a bit about your writing.
Mine?
Yes, your writing.
Shouldn't we be talking about the entire continent?
We can go back to them in a bit. I'm interested in your writing. I have to say, whenever I see your name being used, when someone is doing your bio, it's always award-winning writer Abubakar Adam Ibrahim. It's you can't escape it. Abubakar Adam Ibrahim. Now, I could be very wrong, but wasn't your first award the Marine Platform Award when you were at the Arcade Festival?
No. It went a long way back. The first proper one, I think, was the BBC African Performance Prize, and that was in 2007. Yeah, that's the first.
Oh, that's a long time ago. No wonder that name is not. No wonder award winning is always with your name.
I don't know why people keep adding that. I'm Abubakar. I'm the writer, and but if it helps to sell books, that's great. I'm fine with it. I mean, my publishers invest money in. They invest money in producing these books, and I invest time in writing it. So it helps if the book sells, So if adding that title to the conversation helps the book to move, then fine and good.
Yeah. Oh, good. So let's see. Apart from that BBC award and Marine Platform, and let's see, you are nominated for many awards, the Kane Prize. The one we always go back to is the Nigerian Prize for Literature. Listen, I'm really it's so much money, man. I mean, somebody gave you $100,000. I mean, let's not even play, man. This is the richest prize in Africa, right? It's the richest prize. When it's the richest prize, we'll always gravitate towards we're human beings.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, does it matter that for you that you want a prize, or is it? What does it? What are the prize? What is the importance of the prizes to you?
They're validations, I think. As a writer, you sit in your room or sit in some cafe or sit somewhere quiet and you write and write and your eyes go blurry, like mine right now. And you could write and be happy, and be satisfied that you actually wrote something. But the fact that people read it and see some value in that thing and decide to award this prize or that prize or the other, I think that validates the effort that you put into producing that work, And it's also significant, of course. I mean, we know that writing is a struggle. It's not always that you make money off writing, and not every writer makes money off writing anyway. But winning these prizes, sometimes they come with some money, sometimes good money, sometimes not so good money. But It's good that you kind of earn something from what you do, what you invest time in doing, and what you love doing. I think that's the most important thing, right? The fact that you actually love this creative process, as hard as it is, and also the fact that these awards, these prizes, they kind of bring in more audiences to your work, and I think every writer, no matter how immodest, wants to be read, which I think is why we write. Yeah, so I think for those reasons, it's always a good thing to be involved with those prizes and to be to win them. But I don't necessarily think that one should write aspiring to win awards. I mean, if writers feel like that's what they want to do, they want to target a specific award with their writing, fine and good. I just don't feel that's the essence of writing. For me, the essence of writing is winning the people's heart, your readers, creating that connection in them between them and people that otherwise they wouldn't meet, so there are people who probably never ever come to Nigeria, but through literature, through accessing stories that people write from different countries, they learn about this place and they empathize with the characters in this setting. They kind of have a deeper understanding, deeper than what you get on the news, for instance, when they tell you, oh, Boko Haram killed 20, 30, 40 people in this village, and you don't understand why, and you don't understand who these people are, you don't even understand how they live. And as far as you're concerned, they're just numbers, right? Because you have no sense of who they are or what kind of life they live or what life means to them. But through literature, you kind of understand that. And you see the basic connection between humans, irrespective of tribe, race, ethnicity, religion, and geography. You know.
I really love what you just said because it actually works with what I would have asked you about the writing. But first, I just wanted to bring you wrote a short story collection, then you wrote a novel, then you went back to the short story collection. Um, I'm just curious whether this was planned or this is something that's organic. How when you're doing it?
Um, it's strange because my relationship to short stories is complicated. Complicated in the sense that with the Whispering Trees, for instance, I never set out to write to write a collection of short stories. I just felt like there were stories that I read, and I don't feel the satisfaction that I should get from reading a short story. Right, and I feel that absence. So just like Toni Morrison said, if you want to read a story and you can't find it somewhere, then you probably should write it. And uh, and that was how I got into short story writing. Uh, you know, from that massive dissatisfaction from a lot of the short stories I've read, and I decided to write the kind of stories I would love to read, and I wrote them, and apparently people liked them. So for many years I just wrote stories independently and just put them away somewhere until a friend said, why don't you put them together into a collection? And I thought this was a bizarre idea because I never anticipated that the first thing I was going to publish was going to be a short story collection. But he said, yeah, think about it. So I did. I put them into a collection, and the publisher was interested, and that was how we got there. Um, and even with Dreams and Assorted Nightmares, even though this is kind of more deliberate than those Spring Trees, it's something I talked about. It's because all the stories are connected by the space in which all the characters live in, and so you have to be deliberate about that. You want to create a sense of movement throughout the story and the connection and all of that. And yes, of course, I was conscious that I was working towards a collection of short stories, in accumulating the stories. And yeah, but I did them at very different times. And I put them away while I was working on a novel, or maybe a few. And yeah, so there were things that I did in between other things, right? And eventually, at some point, I I finished and I put it away, and it was put away somewhere for quite a while. And incidentally, when I showed it to my agent, she said, yeah, this is great, but maybe we should focus on getting a novel out before we get out another short story collection. And I said, well, you're the agent, it's a business, you know what to do with this stuff, so good. So that was where we were until my publisher at Masobe, who is a very tenacious fellow, came knocking on my door and he said, give me your short stories. And I'm like, well, you don't even know what they're about. You don't. And he said, I don't give a damn. I just want them. Right. And this guy will not let me sleep. I mean, seriously, the guy kept hounding me and terrorizing me. And he says, lovely, lovely guy. Right. And in the end, I had to relent and I talked to my agent and I said, well, there's this publisher who's really interested and I don't know, what do you think? And she said, well, we can give him Nigerian rights. Let's start with that. And then, yeah, so that's how we got here. That's how, Dreams and Assorted Nightmares is somehow slowly making its way out. Slowly.
I hope you don't mind me asking, like, you've been working with different publishers. You've done some work with Paricha, you've done some work with Cassava Republic, and you've done some work, working with Masobe. Is this organic? Is there something we need to know about these other publishers, or is it just a change of publishers who offer you better?
No. It's not about the offer. It's complicated and complicated. I think maybe I'm not ready to talk about some of those things. Maybe.
No, that's fine. At least we know that there's something we will find out in your memoir.
Probably, if I ever write one.
Yeah, I'm sure. We really hope you do. So, I love. Yeah, we hope you do. I mean, by that time, many of us, maybe you write it in 30, 40 years. A lot of us will be too old to be embarrassed by some of the things happening now.
Yeah, hopefully. And a lot of people will be too old to fight me over some of this things. So, yeah, okay. That's good.
Yeah. So, I love this collection. I read it over the last few days. And I have to ask you, have you watched a movie called Love Actually, a UK movie?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Trying to remember the storyline.
It has Hugh Grant in it, and
oh yeah, that rascal.
I have that vibe.
I like Hugh Grant, right? He's a funny guy, but it always seems to me like he's always doing the same kind of stuff. It's always the same kind of stuff. This quirky, romantic person. Yeah, so he was in that movie. Who else was in it?
The list was long, man. I'm just looking up the cast and crew, man. There was Liam Neeson, Colin Firth, Laura Lee, Emma Thompson, Keira Knight. Basically, all the people with British-sounding names. All British actors were in this movie. And the reason I'm bringing it up. The reason I'm bringing it up is because this movie, it reminds me a bit of.
Sorry, before I go, Malara is here, and she's commenting about it's complicated. And I think Malara is someone who understands some of these issues. I don't know if we've ever had this conversation with her, but we've shared publishers with her, and she knows some of the stuff that's going on. So yeah, she understands. So when Malara says it's complicated, I says, there's something.
Yes, I can tell it must be complicated if we are trying to do it. I'm with Isa here. Maybe that memoir idea is a good idea in the next 30, 40 years, when everybody is much older and it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was bringing up Love Actually because the method of Love Actually kind of reminds me this Dreams and Assorted Nightmares, because it's when you talk about Zango, I really wasn't sure what it was I was getting into. But then when I started reading the story, I realized that they're all independent stories, but they are somehow not related to each other. I mean, the people seep into each other's worlds, but they're all independent stories that can stand on their own. And please tell me how you're able to pull this off, because it's not easy. I don't think it's an easy technique to do.
No, no, I don't know. I mean, it was fun to do. That's for sure. I enjoyed doing it, so that was great. But I think the essential thing was to create the connection between all the stories and all the characters, and if that exists, then it's easier for the story and all of that to kind of get into each other. With Zango, I've always been interested in this space actually as a character and as an influencer of thoughts and opinions and actions and people's responses to things and how they engage with issues. And I've been fascinated by the fact that people who live in a particular space, even though they've never met, they kind of feel like they have this connection. They have this culture, they have this peculiar way of doing things that is kind of exclusive to that space. And you kind of wonder how these things come about and how they're circulated and how they get from person to person, even though they've actually never been in contact. So Zango was, for me, the personification of that space, and that's what it became. And these characters, all of them, I just felt like I wanted to put them in this space. And I've said this before, Zango was a space that existed before in the Whispering Trees. In Mazade, the story, there's a story called The Cry of the Witch, in which there was this village with a plague and this medicine man, and somehow everybody in that village died. I felt like that was a very, very interesting space for me, right? And I wanted to go back there. But then I also wanted the space to come to me, to come into the contemporary time, and and put in all these characters and kind of do a profile of the characters and how their actions kind of intertwine with each other, and take it from there and see where it goes. So yeah, that's how Zongo came into being.
Yeah, I mean, like what you mentioned earlier about doing social commentary about an area, so that people understand that a part of a world, and they're able to understand why people do the things they do in that part of the world.
Yeah.
And this book really, really brought me into this this part of. Do you mind telling us, this Zango, what part of the is it a northern Nigeria? Is there like a city you can say it's like? Is it an amalgamation of like what type of cities?
I would think so. It's yeah, I mean, it's a space that could exist anywhere in the north of Nigeria. And then at the same time, it's a space that doesn't really exist. But it's a space that everyone who knows northern Nigeria can easily associate with. Because it's typical. I mean, the word Zango in itself is, it basically means a rest place, and you've had instances where people are migrating from one place to another and they just end up somewhere, and that place becomes home for them. And you have a lot of towns actually called Zango in Nigeria, especially in the north, but they are always attached to something, right? So it's Zongo and Hausawa, which is where the Hausa people rested, or Zongo and something, or Zongo of this tribe or that particular people or the other. So yeah, so this Zongo is just Zongo, it's just the place that people rested. It's not whose Zongo it is, because the people are different, they came from different places and they became one somehow.
Good. Thank you, Molara, for your comment. I appreciate it. More comments are welcome. So this, I was trying to say, the social commentary you're bringing in this collection is really, really on point. You're bringing in issues
Thank you.
which, yeah, you're bringing issues which I are not part of the list. I think I think you were in an interview you mentioned that there's a
Yeah,
list, HIV, FGM,
FGM,
or
yeah,
yeah,
Chibok girls,
Chibok
stuff like that.
girls. I have to say, you really
Yeah.
were disappointing. Where that list is concerned, you were very disappointing. You didn't deliver on it.
I
What
know.
you Yeah, what you did deliver on was I was really really excited when I saw this issue, the story with the mental health, this young
Yeah. Hmm.
whose son died. Um, and the thing is, I know that mental health is a real issue across the continent. It's a big deal. I mean, here in Kenya, we have so many people and so very few mental health professionals. And please bring us into why it was so important for you to do this specific story.
Yeah. I think it's important because increasingly, I think we're becoming aware of the severity of mental health cases that we have on the continent. This is something that has always been there, anyway, but it's something that has always been treated with shame, right? You have someone who is mentally ill or mentally challenged, and the solution is to hide that person and pretend they don't exist. And I think I mentioned this in that interview. I think it was the IK interview, right? Um, in a place like Kano, for instance, you have, I don't know, maybe hundreds, maybe dozens of people who are having mental issues, and their families decide to just put them in a room and chain them. And some of them have been locked in a room for 30 years. I mean, like 30 years, you put one person in a room, and you lock him up. He doesn't go
30
out, he doesn't.
years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not
Oh, wait, is
exaggerating.
that 30 or
These
13?
are 30 years, 30, right? 30.
Oh,
Yeah, there are people who have been locked up that long because they have mental issues, and their families don't know what to do with them. Um, so I was trying to kind of, understand the dilemma of both the family and the people with the mental health challenges, and the fact that, you have this person, and in the case of this woman, she loves her son, she absolutely loves him, but he's not fit for society, right? So what does she do with him? Um, there's no space for people like him in the society. We don't accommodate them. Um, as a journalist, I worked on a story where we had it was for World Mental Health Day, and we took stock of all the mental health facilities we have in the country, and all of that, and they are horrible, horrible spaces. I mean, they are really, really terrible spaces. You go there and you see people chained to trees like wild animals, and you have people who are not actually professionals, looking after them because the professionals are not there, right? So maybe you don't have enough psychiatrists or psychologists or whoever is needed to take care of their mental health issues. So you have nurses instead, or you have people who have just graduated from public health schools or something, who are not really mental health professionals, right? But they just find a job in that area, and they do that. So you have a lot of issues like that. Could you believe that for a country the size of Nigeria with 200 million people, we have just about, I think, between 200 and 600 mental health experts in the country? Uh, yeah, like trained psychiatrists who can attend to mental health cases. Just about 200 or 600. I'm trying to remember the exact figure. For
wow.
200 million people. So how do you explain that, right? How do you explain? How does that work?
I
How?
mean, Lagos has what, 200? I mean, Lagos has 20 million people, 20 something million people.
Yeah, Lagos alone, right? And I consider the rest of the country. Consider how big it is. and all of that. So you understand that these people are even overwhelmed in the first place, and then you consider that they are poorly paid, right? And you have all these factors that the facilities are simply not there for them to work. So a lot of them end up leaving the country to go and work elsewhere, where their services will be appreciated and all of that. So you have a lot of people here in Nigeria who don't have access to this medical, the medication that they need. They don't have access to the experts that they need. So they are left with a dilemma. Do I just commit my beloved who has mental issues to a space where he'll be treated like an animal, chained to a tree and fed like a dog, more or less? Or do I do this myself and take care of them in the best way that I can? And this is the dilemma I wanted to talk about with that story. Like, what does this woman do with this son that she loves and wants to protect?
That story actually, like, it really touched me, man. I was that's one of the stories which really affected me, because the quality of the life of both the child and the quality of the life was not. No, but you're supposed to be. That's why we read these books. That's why we read these stories, because they're supposed to make us think. I mean, talking about thinking, like I was reading this story, Saja, with the car. And initially, when I started reading this story, I thought it was, it reminded, it initially started to look like it would be one of those, Stephen King has a famous novel called Christine, where he introduces a car which has a demon within. And initially, when I was reading this story, I was like, okay, this is a bit Stephen King. Then it turned out that it's just a discussion about how we residents of this city, and a lot of us across the continent, deal with the simple thing as a car. For others it's a big deal, but for most of the majority of the population, a car is such a valuable asset.
Yeah. I think there are enough demons in Zongo that I didn't need to put one in a car. That would have been too much. But yeah, Saja is a story I love very much, because it embodies the aspiration of people. And for different people, these aspirations take different forms, right? And for this particular character, I mean, he has a family, he has a business that is, but he's struggling. And his greatest aspiration in life is to own this car, right? And he does, and he shows all his love and affection on it, and he is obsessed with this car, right? Even to the detriment of his own family, and they couldn't understand it, and they're like, "What? It's just a bloody car." But for him, it was far more than that. It's something. It's sort of like the how do you put it? Sort of like the icing on the cake, right? Or maybe something more significant than that. It's like the thing that makes his life complete, in the sense that he's achieved his greatest goal in life, and the fact that it took him even that long to get to that point, for him was a tragedy, right, of monumental proportions. So it's about that. It's about the aspiration that people have, and what defines that aspiration, and how they relate with it when they eventually get there. Like someone said, the success is not just getting to the top, but staying there. And for him, he's got to the top, but staying there was proven to be very challenging. And it was exploring that challenge of keeping this thing that he loves so much, even against the other things that he actually loves more, as we later realize. So it's about that. It's about the sacrifices that people have to make when they need to make them.
If you're talking about monsters, I mean, there are monsters. I mean, listen. I really did not expect this because I thought it was just a nice story, a short story collection with relationships and marriages, and then suddenly we get a story called Melancholia, where Captain is a crazy young woman, and suddenly we are dealing with the actual monsters. Okay,
Was that a monster, James?
how do you get to this? Because I mean, listen, we know you for your wonderful stories in the Whispering Tree. Then for Reza, who you will always be asked questions about, I'm sure. And then now suddenly you have this woman who kills herself and starts harassing this couple.
Yeah, it's she's obsessed. And maybe she might have been mentally challenged as well. Maybe she might have had mental issues. No, not maybe. She definitely did, right? But also it's also this exploration of obsession with things, with people, and wanting to be in people's lives even when they don't have space for you. And in our own case, there was no space. There simply wasn't any, and Captain wasn't willing to make one for her. I mean, he has a wife, he has a family. He was very happy with his wife, even though their marriage wasn't particularly ideal. But what marriage is, right? But then he was determined to stick with his wife because she stuck with him as well. And then you have this woman who wants something else, and in the end, she becomes something different and presents a different kind of challenge. And for me, the fact is that the most interesting bit about the story is how are they going to live with this thing, right? And the efforts that they make to hide these things from each other. Right? I mean, the wife knew what was going on initially, but then she wanted to, because she loved her husband so much, she wanted to protect him from him, more or less, right? And he too wanted to protect her from her. So it's this I don't know, this counter attraction between their desire to protect each other from each other, right, or from themselves. That was the most fascinating bit for me.
Yeah. So in that story, the couple is doing everything they can to come together and stay together in spite of the messes and what's what. But and then in a very brief marriage, it's a little bit different. We have okay.
Yeah,
Listen, this okay. Is this how, like, when the bandits come to your house in that part of the country? Is that how they come? They knock and ask you to open? Because
no. I mean, Audu Kore is a peculiar kind of bandit. He's different. He's confident in his banditry. He's even arrogant at it, right? He's the kind of person that has the guts to come to your door and knock and say, "Oh, it's a guest. Open the door. I'm coming either way." And you would see his character develop further down the collection. And you see that he plays an even more prominent role in the whole of Zengo than was projected in that brief marriage. I think it's. I mean, I enjoyed writing his character a lot. I really did. I mean, it was fun. And I remember my publisher making this joke about. He said, "You like writing bad bandits and bad guys, and you do it so well. You're a bandit writer."
Okay, so I can't not.
Yeah.
I cannot bring this up. Like, one of the things about the way you write your stories, your characters are really well formed, and especially your female characters. These I mean, everybody writes women characters in their books because women are half of the population, sometimes more. But it's so interesting for me how you write them so well. And I normally see the response from many of the women readers who respond really positively, like you really are speaking to them. How do you do this? Because it's not a very easy skill. Not everybody can write women characters of any type. No, don't forget about whether they are from conservative societies or whatever societies. It's not as easy for men to write women characters as people should. So, what is it that you're doing? What are you? I mean, these are women who are having sex. These are women who are they're sharing their issues with their bodies. They're, maybe somebody else would be a bit scared to talk about this.
You want me to tell you how I write these women characters?
I'm really interested, man, because I've read a lot of books, and many of the writers that I encounter, there are things that they go to a certain point and then they stop. But you lay it all out so that you can see the whole picture.
Oh, are you sure? I don't know what picture James has been. I don't know what picture James has been looking at, so I don't know what he's looking about.
Yeah, but how do you form your women? Because this is something I want to know.
It's a great secret, James. I can't tell you that.
You can't tell me that because your women are not they're not good women. They're not bad women. They're just fully formed human beings.
They're women. That's what they are, right? I mean, they're like men in that sense, in the sense that they're not angels, they're not demons, they're not witches or wizards or something. They're just women, and that means that they are complicated, they are strong, they are beautiful, they are flawed, they are all these things rolled up into one, and they're wonderful and intriguing, and that's who they are. That's what I try to capture. I think a lot of people make the mistake of saying, I want to write women that are perfect, probably, and you try to force this idea of perfection on those characters, and no character is perfect because no human is perfect, right? Everybody is flawed, everybody has weaknesses and strengths, and even the worst of us have their most outstanding qualities, and even the best of us have their own shortcomings, and for me, working all of these things into a character is one of the greatest curiosities that I like to explore. How do you bring all of these things to work together in a character? And I like it when my characters ruffle people. You can't just be too comfortable with them, because no matter how much you like somebody, there's something about the person that annoys you. And even when you really don't like somebody, when you dislike somebody so much, if you just look at that person, observe that person, you discover something you actually like about the person. And that's what humans are. That's what I try to capture when I write women and I write men and other people and other things and other creatures and other.
This book, where would you place it in a bookshop? I know you don't. This is not your job, but
No.
is this magical realism? Because there's so many different things.
Yeah. I don't know. It is what it is, right?
We call it Magogodanyo in parts of this country.
Yeah, maybe it's genre bending, or it's its whole different thing, or maybe it's something that I don't know. Of course, I've always been fascinated by magical realism. I love that a lot. But like I've always said, I think there's also maybe a limit, right? Because there are instances where it goes overboard and it becomes something else, and you're like, okay, this is not making sense anymore. So yeah, I like playing on the verge of full-blown magical realism and being fully grounded on in realism as well. I think that's very important because I think there are lots of important stories to tell about this continent, about the people who occupy this continent. And it would be a shame if all of that is lost in a fantastical cloud, right? Then people go, oh, it's just magical, it's fantastical, and all of that. And then they forget that there are actually real issues that affect real people that you're trying to talk about here. So yeah, it's always important to be grounded in magical realism, but no, in realism, and then to bring in that element of magical realism because they exist. It's all around us. It's, you know, you see funny things, you hear funny things, you see people doing funny things because they believe in funny things, you know, and that's what it is. You know, so yeah, I'm happy it's not my job to classify this. So I'll let those whose job it is to do that.
This book collection can go into, you can go for the normal awards, you can go for for several different categories of different type of awards. Oh, by the way, I really love this cover. Who designed this cover? You know, when I saw the cover, I didn't get it. I had to finish the collection to know what the hell this cover was about.
Oh, okay.
Who designed this cover?
Yeah. The cover designer is I don't know. I don't have his name here, but yeah, it's someone who works with Anderson Oriahi, and yeah, this is the book, and it's a wonderful cover. It's fantastic. Oh, yeah. You know, and I like it a lot. Okay. And yeah, we had conversations about what the cover should be like. You know, went back and forth, and I love that process as well because you know, when you write a book, you often don't think about what the cover is going to look like, but I always like having you know, inputs in what the cover is going to look like, and I'm happy I had the chance to, you know, talk about this, and we did several iterations, and this one came through, and it was fantastic, and I love it. Absolutely.
Are we expecting any translations of this book? Am I being too early? Because I've noticed that you've been having translations of your earlier work, and I suspect translations are very important for what you're doing.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's important that even though you write about a specific space, right? My writing transcends, you know, that space, because inevitably I'm writing about humans, whether they are in Nigeria or somewhere else, you know, and it's that human experience that I want to tap into and connect with. And it's also important that people elsewhere read what you write and connect with it, even though the reality of the character's life is different from theirs, but they get to like experience a connection of some kind. So okay, Nick, thank you. I hope you enjoy it, and enjoy Berlin as well. Yeah, so
yes,
yeah, Nick is going to read the book, so I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, so I was saying about translations. We will see. We will see what happens. Yeah, like I said, the process of yeah.
No, just going. The process of just finish your thought.
Yeah, I was just about to say that you know, the process of bringing out this book is not it's a bit strange, but we'll figure it out eventually and see how it happens.
When is the book available to the public, and where will they be able to buy it?
It's going to be available from November 30th. We've had to push back the publication date a couple of times. It was supposed to come out in July, and then COVID happened, so everything went into lockdown, which means that the production of the book had to, you know, suffer setbacks and all of that. So we moved the date to October, and then we had issues with shipments, and but finally I think November 30th is going to be the date. To pre-order, you can go to the Masobe website and pre-order there. And then for the rest of the continent, we'll see what happens as well.
My last question, because if anybody has a question, please put it in the comments. My last question is, what question do you not like, or what question do you like to be asked that you don't really get asked?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Have I ever thought about that? No, no, not really. Not really.
Oh, so you get asked all the questions you need to be asked.
No, I get asked questions that I don't need to be asked. Sometimes they're just funny. But yeah, people ask all sorts of questions, and you answer the ones you can answer when you can answer them. Sometimes people ask questions and you try to make sense of what they're actually asking, and then other times they ask questions that are very, very meaningful and deep, and it makes you realize how very connected they are to the work that you produce. And I think that's a great thing. So yeah, people should ask whatever question they want to ask. It doesn't always mean that you are going to get an answer, right? But you never know until you try, right?
Yeah, you never know. So yeah. I think we should wrap up this. We've been almost on for almost an hour now. Wow.
Yeah.
I have to say, thank you so much, Abubakar, for being my first guest on this live stream.
Thank you, James, for having me. Thank you.
Let's see, there's a comment there. And I have to say thank you to those who streamed in. And do you want to attempt that before we log off?
A gentleman never tells.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Nicely done. So I want to thank everybody who streamed in. I see Nick was making fun of my water, and everybody else. iContinental, Isa Hudu, Molara Wood, Helen Ambassa, Azafi. Those are the ones who I can see immediately. I want to say thank you for streaming in and joining the conversation. We'll be having another stream next week. Please look out for the guest and the time. We may not have the guest at the exact same time, but we'll keep you posted. How has the experience been, Abubakar? How was it?
Great. Fantastic. I enjoyed myself. Of course, I always enjoy having conversations with you, so that makes sense. Yeah, a fantastic fellow. And you're a great guy. So it's always easy to talk to you. So, yeah, so thank you for having me as your first guest. Yay.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, there's a word I dislike a lot. I would have used that to say that I, commissioned, and I'm using it. Yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about that because for some people it is insulting. It is insulting for some people. Yeah. So, but we're not going to brag about this or talk about all of this. So we'll just leave that aside. Yeah. So yeah, that's it basically. I'm delighted I'm using commissioned deliberately because I don't want to use the other word. Yeah, I commissioned this live streaming of yours. So yeah.
No, thank you. So I see Asa is talking about Wizkid. Is that something? Is that a real thing? You're the North Wizkid.
I don't know.
Well, can you sing?
No, actually, I thought he meant with Wizkid the musician, but I think he means Wizkid, as in Wizkid, right?
I also thought it was a musician.
Yeah, I thought so too at first. I don't know where I'm supposed to get to, but yeah, I think the challenge is. Oh yeah, okay, now I get it. It's hard. It's really hard. You write, you write for hours. You go hungry. You avoid your friends. You avoid your family. You don't do stuff that you should be doing because you want to write this stuff, right? And then you write it and you send it out to somebody, and they tell you, oh, this is not good enough for us, or you know, you get rejections. You get a lot of doubts as a writer, and that's it's part of the occupational hazard. You just have to take it on your chin and move on and continue and just keep improving yourself and keep working and keep growing. Right, and I think in short, that's basically what I can say. Just work hard, and if you get a rejection, take it as in your stride and continue growing. Basically,
I think that's a good way to wrap up. Don't give
yeah.
up. Rejections are not death.
Hmm. No, they are not. Definitely.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll just end this live stream
Thank you.
because
All right,
everybody who's
James.
logged in, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
You too, James. Thank you. Take care.